but through a state-linked diplomatic pouch, the kind used for confidential government communicates. According to one protocol officer, this was not a personal note. It was a political dispatch cloaked in apology. The letter arrived at Adelaide Cottage on November 25th, where Catherine had just returned from a quiet hospital check-in. The optics were powerful. Meghan's plea met a recovering Catherine frail, reflective, and still healing from cancer. To many within the firm, this was a calculated choice. Initially, Catherine received the letter in silence. Sources confirmed she read it twice before asking for space. The princess had not spoken to Meghan since early 2022, and even during Catherine's illness, no contact had been made. By the morning of November 26th, however, palace insiders noticed Catherine doing something she rarely did, requesting old footage and transcripts. She reviewed clips from Meghan's 2021 Oprah interview, the 2022 Netflix documentary, and public statements made during Archwell summits. Catherine was searching not for comfort, but for patterns. Still, when Anne summoned her for a confidential conversation at St. James's Palace later that day, it became clear that a fundamental rift had reopened. Anne asked only one question. "Do you believe she means it?" Catherine reportedly responded, "I believe she regrets the result. I don't yet believe she regrets the actions." To Anne, that distinction meant everything. She laid out 3 clear findings from the palace's intelligence review. Meghan's Hollywood network had collapsed, failed productions, severed contracts, and declining public sentiment. Archwell was financially constricting, making a royal rebrand the only viable rescue. Public sympathy for Catherine's illness created a perfect emotional backdrop for Meghan to stage a compassion-driven return. Anne concluded with a line that stunned even Charles. "This is not repentance, it is repositioning." King Charles, often seen as more conciliatory than his elder sister, listened in silence. But when he spoke, the tone was iron. At 11:20 a.m., Charles ordered a full review of loopholes in the Royal Household Membership Charter. Reaffirmation that only active, loyal, and UK-based royals can hold state functions. Legal reinforcement preventing disgraced members from using historic titles. A prohibition on Sussex children receiving royal security unless permanently residing in Britain under palace supervision. This effectively eliminated every possible route for Meghan's return. Charles's private reasoning, according to a senior aide, he believes a second betrayal under this fragile public climate could end the monarchy's generational trust. Yet, the one person who could complicate this firm wall of resistance was Catherine. Catherine recovering, gentler, more spiritual, after her health ordeal, reportedly said during a private call with Anne on November 27th. "If someone truly asks forgiveness, we should at least listen." This, insiders say, sent Anne into a controlled panic. For Anne, Catherine's kindness was both admirable and dangerously exploitable. Meghan knew Catherine was the emotional center of the family, the one whose goodwill carried symbolic weight with the British public. 2 factions quietly formed inside the palace. They argued that Meghan's move was an attempt to reclaim lost fame, a plan to regain royal status for brand leverage, a maneuver to publish another memoir from a position of semi-royal authority, a psychological manipulation exploiting Catherine's compassion. To them, accepting Meghan again would signal catastrophic weakness. They believed that forgiveness strengthens crown integrity. The monarchy should model reconciliation. Meghan's plea deserved evaluation rather than immediate dismissal. Yet even Catherine's faction admitted that full reinstatement would be impossible and potentially dangerous. By nightfall, on November 28th, The palace had reached its most decisive point in years. Charles authorized Anne to prepare the public-facing directive that would close the gates permanently. This led to the explosive statement released at 7:42 a.m. the next morning, the sharpest signal from the monarchy since the stripping of Andrew's patronages in 2022. It was not only a rejection, it was an exposure, a declaration that the Crown had identified the motive, the pattern, the danger. And for the first time in 5 years, the Windsor were moving as one. Except Catherine, whose quiet hope for reconciliation was already becoming a fault line that could shape the entire saga ahead. The full contents of Meghan Markle's handwritten letter to the Princess of Wales remain officially sealed, but insiders within Sandringham's security circle confirm that the letter was not only professionally ghostwritten, but intended as a test balloon to re-enter public favour via Catherine. Among the most controversial passages were 3 emotionally manipulative appeals. Perhaps I mistook my strength for rebellion. Perhaps I confused independence with disrespect, but I hope motherhood softens both our views. Lilith deserves to know her grandmother's palace. Archie deserves a path of duty and legacy. It was never about leaving the family. It was about surviving the storm. Though painted as personal, the letter's distribution raised alarms. Multiple senior aides noted the Duchess's decision to send the letter not through her private security or courier, no one else there. Meghan makes staff announce her in a room as the Duchess of Sussex. I kid you not. And she pauses, mid-interview. At 7:42 a.m. on the 29th of November, 2025, the Royal Communications Office issued a statement so sharp, so uncharacteristically direct, that even seasoned correspondents gasped. It opened with a sentence that instantly set the tone for what would become one of the most consequential palace confrontations since the Sussex departure in 2020. No individual previously disengaged from duty may re-enter the royal household when motivated by personal advancement, commercial interest, or reputational rehabilitation. Though the statement never mentioned Meghan Markle by name, every journalist, courtier, and political advisor understood exactly who it was aimed at. The timing was not coincidental. Less than 48 hours earlier, senior palace staff had confirmed that Meghan had sent a lengthy, emotionally charged letter to Catherine, Princess of Wales, framed as an apology, framed as a plea, framed as a mother's hope for a better future. But the palace was already prepared because, behind closed doors for nearly 3 weeks, Princess Anne and King Charles III had been orchestrating a quiet but sweeping effort to block Meghan's path back to royal status. The letter delivered via hand sea, carried diplomatic pouch on November 25th, was addressed solely to Catherine, but quickly circulated among senior royals. Meghan apologized for past misunderstandings, spoke of youthful rashness, and emphasized her desire for a path of atonement and a restored sense of family unity. On the surface, the tone was soft, motherly, emotional, but buried between the lines, as Anne pointed out in the emergency meeting that followed, were unmistakable signals of a calculated campaign. Phrases like, "It is essential that my children reclaim their rightful identity. Hollywood does not offer the stability we imagined. My public voice has been misinterpreted due to lack of royal context." To Anne, these were not expressions of remorse. They were coded arguments for reinstatement. At precisely 10:06 a.m. on November 26th, Princess Anne convened an off-call gathering at Clarence House, attended only by King Charles, the Lord Chamberlain, 2 constitutional advisors, the private secretaries of Anne and William. This meeting, later referred to by insiders as the Frost Council, marked the moment and formally activated her authority as guardian of royal continuity, a role traditionally dormant but revived under the Councillors of State Act 2022. Her assessment was blunt. The monarchy cannot endure a second infiltration of disloyalty. The damage of 2020 must never be repeated.